This is for the woman who is manifesting transformation, but is struggling with shaping her mind around what to do when things get difficult. I'm your host, Queen, and this is Vital Information. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. And I hope this message finds you well today as we dive into a little thing I like to call consistency and her big sister, discipline. I have always struggled with consistency, and I want to talk about this right now because it is happening in real time. It's not just something that I have struggled with in the past, but it's something that I struggle with in the present. And this is probably a little more vulnerable than past stories because it's something I'm going through currently and also working through. But this is what we do. This is what Vital Information is about. It's about talking through the process. It's about the things that get difficult and ugly and not so pretty, and when things don't always look good. And I know it's weird to hear from a fitness professional, from your trainer, from your instructor, that they struggle with consistency or they feel challenged when it comes to discipline. So when you see someone put in a lot of effort to get a specific result, just understand that it took so many choices to get there. It took a decision to be made every single day in order for that result to manifest. So right now I'm facing a huge transition in my life, and it's not a place that I haven't been in before, but it's a place that I've always struggled in. And it's scary to feel this way right now, just in the state of the world that we're in and in the environment that I'm in. I want to talk about fitness first because I think that is where things started with me when it comes to discipline and sticking with something and seeing it all the way through. I didn't start my fitness journey out of aesthetic or wanting to have a different body or body type, or I wasn't looking for abs or muscles or anything, honestly. I started my fitness journey years ago because I got fired from my job. And real quick, I'll tell you guys how that happened. I was in a very, 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 very toxic work environment. And one day, my supervisor literally pushed me. I'm sorry, it's not funny. It's not funny because I was super angry. And obviously, they fired me when she put her hands on me. But after she did that, I blew up. I went off. I said some words out my mouth. I didn't put my hands on her or anything like that. But of course, they fired me. Of course. Of course, they fired the black woman that got upset that someone else put their hands on her. Yeah. Anywho, that decision for me to walk into that woman's office, go off on her, throw something at her, and walk off was a decision that I made out of anger, out of emotion, and out of fair treatment. Now, there were a series of events that happened prior to her pushing me. The specific moment where she pushed me, nothing was really happening. It was the end of the day. I was walking past her to go outside, and she literally just shoulder checked me. She literally shoulder checked me. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And it was very intentional. She even told me to move out of her way. So, again, do I feel like what I did was justified? Yeah, I think I advocated for myself properly. Anyway, long story short, of course, they fired me. And I was in a position where I just moved into a new apartment. I just settled down in a comfortable way. I was just getting to the point where I was figuring it out, or so I thought. And then this happened. And it was devastating to me because I never, ever, ever been fired before. And this was back in 2021. And prior to that, I worked at another job, and then we kind of like switched to remote after or during the pandemic. And so this was like my first time being back into the office consistently. I was around a new group of people. I was, doing my job well, or so I thought. But there was just someone in the workplace that didn't like me or didn't, and I can't really tell you why, because I don't know. There were no reasons. I didn't work with her directly. She wasn't my supervisor, but she did oversee our office. And there are a lot of times where people try to make power moves to establish dominance. And when people do that in a workplace, one is toxic. People come to work uneasy, and it creates an environment based on social dynamics and not merit or not work ethic. And that kind of sums up corporate America and any corporate environment that you're in. People will want to establish dominance over you because of their title, because of their position, and because of what they believe they deserve over you. And sometimes people lose a sense of empathy and humanity for other people because of their hunger for power and authority. And my decision made me feel weak, and not weak in the face of another person or of, not compared to that woman. Losing my job is what made me feel weak. It made me feel stupid. It made me feel like I was incapable. It made me feel like I was like, I was like, whoa, like only crazy degenerate people get fired, or they only do big layoffs. Like if it's not a layoff, only crazy people get fired. And I was now one of those crazy people, and it was a decision I never made before. And so after getting laid off, I didn't know what to do. It was my first time. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing after that. Like I really didn't know. And it was a blessing that I was able to not work for a couple months while I tried to figure out what I was going to do next. But it was hard. I was sad. I was bored. I was confused. I was hurt. I was now in a position where I wasn't able to get back into my field as quickly. In the state of Maryland, you're not even able to get unemployment if the company says that they don't want to give it to you. I don't know if it's like that in every state. But yeah, they labeled me. They made me feel like I'd done something wrong or crazy. They didn't believe me. And that is a hard feeling, and you feel like an outcast. And in reality, it doesn't matter, right? Like when I talked to my family and friends about this at the time, they were like, "Are you okay?" Like, "Wow, that's crazy." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is," but it was more so like what I thought of myself that made me feel even worse. And so I started going to the gym. I actually started working at a gym, and I started to notice the same people were in there every day at the same time. And I used to open the gym, so I was there at 5 a.m., and I remember there were people waiting outside of the gym to get in there. And I was like, wow, like, it was crazy, but okay. People are just so fixated on utilizing this membership. But no, it was part of their routine. And after seeing the same people over and over again, after seeing trainers train the same people consistently, seeing people's results, right? Seeing people transform in real time, to me was so significant. And it made me feel empowered to even do my job, right? Like a gym is always going to be a place where people can benefit, right? Especially, if they are doing it safely and correctly and consistently. And that is the goal of the gym itself, is to bring people in consistently and allow them to create an environment where they can be consistent. And Consistency literally is doing something in the same way over a consecutive period of time, meaning day one, day two, three, four, and so on. Now, every time you show up in the gym, like, do you have to do the same thing every time? No. Does it still count as you being consistent in the gym? Absolutely. Now, discipline comes in when you're able to do those things, even if you don't want to. So I started going to the gym. You know, you guys know my story as far as Pilates and just figuring out where I fit in, right? Like, I decided that strength training was too scary for me. You know, I liked to stretch, so I would stretch. And then I found a Pilates studio near my house. I took an intro class with my friends, and, the rest is history. I became an instructor. I've been able to instruct umpteen number of classes with all different types of people. But the way that fitness has played out in my life is that it has become my anchor for my emotions and for decision making. And again, making the decision to get up and go to the gym is literally that, a decision. And it's different when it's work for you, right? Like, you'll show up for a paycheck, right? Like, that paycheck is definitely motivating for you to get up every day at 7 o'clock, to get to work by 8 o'clock, to, work, and then get home by 5. But for the gym, for me, it jump started my energy. When I got up and I got into a flow, when I reached a flow state at the gym, meaning I was going to the gym, I had everything in my bag: my headphones, my lip gloss, my Celsius, my water, the right shoes, the right outfit. I knew the layout of the gym. Started at the Stairmaster, took a break, went back to the locker room, took pictures, came right back out, did my leg press machine, did the lat pull down machine. Like, when I was in flow, it felt so good to just know my body, to know that breaking a sweat and feeling good about myself was a sense of accomplishment. And there was nobody around me to tell me that I was doing anything wrong, that I needed to do better, that I wasn't socializing in the right way, that someone didn't like this about the way I did that, or X, Y, and Z. And that's why I chose to make fitness a part of my career, because it gave me so much creativity, and the result, the benefits of incorporating fitness into my life and then also sharing it. It was so much more rewarding than any other job I'd ever had. And right now, I'm in a very similar position to where I was in 2021. And again, corporate work dynamics, people wanting conformity to supersede merit, has placed me at a stopping point once again. I am a leader through and through, and conformity is not my strong suit, because I have created my own path for a very long time. And in the fitness industry, there's so many pathways that you can go. There's so many opportunities, so many people to meet, so many events to show up at, so many different things to pick up, so many new things to tap into, so much more to learn. And so, even though consciously I'm aware of that, and I know, like, wow, okay, like, I'm valuable, I have skill sets, I have certifications, I know things, there's a feeling of confusion and a very deep interruption in routine when you're released from a work environment. And for me, because that work environment was rooted in fitness as well, I took such a long pause to reevaluate who I was becoming in the process. Am I proud of myself? Yes. because the decisions that I made in that moment and afterwards were such a huge difference from the ones that I made in 2021. And it's like, okay, I can feel myself changing. I can feel and see the difference in the choices that I've made. However, why am I still struggling with the discipline of it all? Because when things get hard, it is so easy for me to just stop and say, bluff. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe this is just not it for me. This is not it. But that is far from the truth. And so, even with me starting this podcast, even with Vital Information and all of the things and the plans and the goals that I've set out for this platform, it is hard to be consistent. Like, we are on episode number 4, and this is such a personal project for me because I'm telling my story. And being a speaker, being a teacher, being a learner is something that I do very well. And at every moment, I'm learning. And every crazy thing, good or bad, I am learning. And restarting over and over and over again is unsettling, and it feels uncomfortable. And I've shared with you guys in previous episodes how I struggle with shame and guilt and feeling guilty for feeling too much, or feeling too much for too long. And the answer is never not to feel. The answer is rarely to, throw your feelings away and act like you don't have them, because I tried that and people don't like that. And not only do other people not like that, I don't like feeling like my feelings don't matter. I don't like pretending like I don't feel a way either. But something about movement allows the emotion to have an outlet and have a place to go besides my mind. And I know it's weird to think about feeling through things and moving through things physically instead of feeling through them, instead of thinking and trying to intellectualize emotions all the time. But for me, it's the only way for me to transmute deep feelings into creativity. And as women, God gave us the ability to produce, and we receive blessings through creativity. So, Vital Information is one of the many things outside of fitness that is giving verbal affirmation to my ability to combine thinking, movement, feeling, and vitality. And so I say that to say that fitness for me isn't just for aesthetic, but it is a way to assist in nervous system regulation. And regulating your nervous system, especially for women, will do so much justice to your body, to your mind, to your heart, and to your sleep, but also to the way that you move about in the world and the way that you make decisions for yourself and where you make those decisions from. So when I'm stagnant, when I get, 4 or 5 hours of sleep and I wake up irritated and I reach for caffeine and the quickest thing that's going to get my heart rate up because I don't know how else I'm going to do it. Do I always need to make those decisions? Do I always need to go that route? No. But when my nervous system is not regulated, then I make decisions that are also dysregulated. I make decisions from feeling, irrational and wanting things to be quick and fast and to the point because I don't have the capacity to digest them in a healthy way. And although I might have the intention of wanting things to go well and wanting to show up and wanting to be present, and of course, I intend to work out and I intend to, follow my routine and, be healthy and make healthy choices. And although that intention is there, that just drives the desire. The intention is just how bad do you want it, right? Like, is that something that you are willing to do? But the capacity that you have to do those things, to hold space for those things, may not always match the intention. And how do we gauge our capacity, right? Like, how do we gauge how much we can withstand? We do that through checking our energy. How much energy do you have to thoroughly speak? Can you slow down and rest? Do you have the time to have this conversation? Can you put in this much effort to get this task done? And I know our lives aren't projects, and I know we don't need to always just get things done, but on a very basic level, we do, right? We need to brush our teeth, we need to wash our hair, and listen, other things as well. We need to eat, we need to move. And prioritizing those things teaches us and teaches our minds that that is what it takes to be functional. And so I'm being very vulnerable right now and letting you guys know that I'm not in any way perfect. Do I work out every single day? No, no. Do I like vegan cookies, the soft chocolate chip ones from Sprouts? Yeah, yeah, I do. Do I have a box of those on my counter right now? I do. I do. Are they halfway eaten? They are. Do I have to make that decision every day? No. Is it a balance of working out, going to the gym, getting outside, getting my steps in, drinking water, making sure I get some protein, some carbs, some whole foods, some salads, some greens in my diet, and then maybe having half of a cookie? Yes. There's balance to those things, but they are all a part of a well functioning human being. Now, overconsumption will always put you on the dysregulated side of that spectrum. Same thing with working out, overtraining. Anyone in the fitness industry any athlete will tell you that overtraining is not ideal. Okay? It's not ideal. That is why athletes have off seasons. Okay? Your body does need to rest. One of the things that I'm working on right now is consistency. And it's the hardest thing I've done so far. And it always has been, with school, with working out, with, my hair. Like, honestly, a lot of things in my life have been inconsistent because my nervous system hasn't always been regulated, and I have made decisions out of emotion and sometimes not thinking long term, not thinking even about mistakes that I've made in the past, and just rushing through things, not feeling like I know what to do, sometimes acting like I do know what to do, not asking for help, being too prideful to ask someone to help me make a decision, being afraid that they'll tell me the wrong thing, being afraid that I'll do the wrong thing, being afraid of committing to one decision because I'm too afraid of missing out on other decisions that I could make. And if you have ever been in that space, no shade, it's childish. And I'm at a point right now where it's like, okay, Queen, you have to grow up. That is the sacrifice of maturity, realizing that sometimes you only have the opportunity to make the decision once. And you can choose several different things, but the result comes from the commitment and seeing it all the way through and sticking to it because it's the choice that you made. And even going back to getting fired and, feeling away and, back in 2021, that decision that I made to, just blow up and go off. In the moment, I felt like I ate that. Over time, I realized that was not mature at all, Queen. That was dumb. That was crazy. And I was hurt. I hurt my own self. I hurt my own situation. And I'm giving myself grace knowing that that was the first time I'd ever encountered something to that caliber. That was the first time I'd ever been, you know, in a situation like that at work or in a discrepancy at work where, I was being bullied. And so now I'm in the space where I'm like, okay, now I know. Now I know that these type of people exist. Now I know that being a target is a real thing. And the decisions that I make thereafter truly define my character and will position me for my future. And the space that I'm in right now is also challenging me to do it scared, do it ugly, and do it on a Saturday, do it in the middle of the day, do it when you're tired, do it when you don't feel like it, because you committed to this. You are committed to this decision because you made it. Trust yourself. And when things get hard, take a breath. And when you're ready, stand up and keep going. Do another set. Do one more rep. Every day doesn't have to be a go till failure day. And that is a different level of discipline because it's not about chasing the feeling of what I get out of going to the gym every day, out of eating a specific type of diet. It's not the fuel to my ego anymore. Now, discipline is training myself to continue to make the decision. It's holding myself accountable for choices that I make and allowing each choice to bring me closer to the result that I want. And in time, I'm sure I'll get better. I want to get better. I will get better. Because each day I'm choosing that person that has everything that I want. I'm choosing the version of myself that no longer is afraid to commit to making myself, my health, my wants, my needs, my desires a priority. I make the decision because I love to love myself. I make the decision because being healthy brings me closer to showing up for my community and for my friends and for my family. Being stagnant doesn't serve my desire to help others. So now I'm learning to embrace the difficulty, sit with it for a moment, and move forward. The mission is to move forward, and that's vital information.